This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for August 29th, 2024. This is Season 14, Episode number 3, and this is Episode 442 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am Bob Howard. Thank you for listening to the Power Play Post Show. We got a lot of news and information to cover before we even get to our interview. So without doing any real monologue, I'm just going to go right into the must-reads, and then we're going to start getting into the meat and potatoes because we're only 44 days technically to the home opener when you guys are listening to this, and only 43 days until the start of the season as the Black Bears will be up in Watertown, H2O land, for a game against the Watertown Wolves before they come home for the home opener, where they'll have a banner ceremony and they're going to raise the banner and they're going to have the cup in the house, and it's just going to be a really good time. So let's get into the must-reads. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. We keep growing. We keep getting more members. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And, of course, on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, you already saw the promotion. You know he's here. Binghamton Black Bears forward Josh Fletcher will be on. And we talked to him about a lot of different things, from being picked up in the expansion draft, traded back for Matthew Boulard, who is somebody that helped him out this past season. So what a lot of people don't probably realize is that Matthew Boulard helped Josh Fletcher. Josh Fletcher fought 7 times this year, and Boulard only 6 because Boulard went up, and he actually helped him. And so there's a personal connection between Josh and Matthew. But Josh is really glad to be back, and we'll talk to him. And we talked to him about, living in Calgary and all the cool things, because LA went to Calgary to see him and Dan Stone, Dan Stone and Josh are Calgary natives. And LA went out to go visit those guys. They're really good friends and everything. And so they went out there to go see him. So he'll be on the show. Very cool stuff. But there's a lot of information I want to get through. We're probably going to break this into a couple segments so I can take a second to rest my voice. So we got a couple topics that I want to go over and talk about, things that you guys may not know about the podcast world, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the new people that are coming into the Black Bears organization, players and assistant coaches. But I don't know if anyone saw the news. And if you did see the news, it's all over the place. And I took some information from a couple different sources, and I just want to talk about this a little bit because I've been doing podcasting before podcasting was a word, okay? I believe the word came into fruition sometime in 2001, and I was doing it before then. I was doing a football, or not a football, but a pro wrestling, WWF, WCW, ECW talk show that I did on the internet and that people could download and they can listen to. I used a program software that was called Real Audio, and we used that to actually start not streaming realistically. It was more of you were downloading it to your computer and then listening to the broadcast. We called it a radio show on the internet because podcast wasn't a thing. And then when podcast became a thing, it became this negative thing like blogger. If you were a blogger or you were a podcaster, you were some evil person sitting down in the basement of your grandmother's house. And so I took it upon myself. I was like, well, I'm not going to call myself a podcast then, right? But that's really what it was. I mean, if we want to use the term correctly, that's what it was. Just recently, over the last couple years, some of the biggest podcasts in the world have signed major deals, major $1 million deals, okay? And the Kelsey brothers, Travis and Jason, are no different. Just like Dave Rogan has signed a big deal with Spotify, which you might be listening to on here, for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And I think his new contract might be $250 million. Well, from Variety.com, Jason and Travis Kelsey are kicking off a rich new deal with Amazon's Wondery, which has exclusive ad sales and distribution rights to the popular New Heights weekly podcast hosted by the famous football brothers. The deal between the Kelsey brothers and Wondery, which runs for 3 years, is worth more than $100 million, according to a source familiar with the pact. Why do I bring this up? Well, I don't make a dime doing this podcast. Matter of fact, doing this actually cost me money. And there are a ton of podcasters out there that go through the same thing that I do. They start a podcast, they get a following, they don't make any money. Now, there are more people that listen to podcasts that make no money than there are people that listen to podcasts that do make money. Now, what does that mean? It means that 10% of people that have podcasts make money. 90% of the people don't. But that 90%, if you add up all the listens, is probably more than the 10% that do. Because there are millions of people that have podcasts. So check this out. From Samar LS, which is a website, how do podcasters make money on Spotify? Okay, this is the question. Podcasters on Spotify primarily make money through ads and sponsorships rather than being paid per stream. So if you listen to this podcast, I don't necessarily get paid for it, which I don't at all. Spotify does not pay podcasters based on the number of streams, unlike musicians. However, Spotify for Podcasters offers tools for podcasters to monetize their content through ads and premium subscriptions. Now, what's interesting about that is you literally have to have like 10,000 streams in a month just to actually start getting paid by Spotify. So you need to have thousands and thousands of streams. So because I do this for a small market base, so to speak, yeah, maybe there's a couple people listening from Watertown, a couple people listening from Danbury to make sure I'm not talking trash about them and everything, which I don't talk trash about Danbury. Maybe some people from Carolina, maybe some people from Columbus. There's, probably some people that will listen from the Hudson Valley area and everything, so they'll be interested in what the players have to say or whatnot. Or maybe some of my broadcaster friends like Jeff Barrett from Watertown or Brett Wiseman. Guys, thank you very much for listening to this show. I really appreciate it. But the point of this is that podcasters don't make money. They really don't, unless they sell advertising locally themselves and, put the ads on their podcasts. Right now I have Spotify podcast ads that run. I put them in there. I don't know if anyone's listening to them because I don't know if they actually get played. If someone could tell me if you've heard an ad while listening to my podcast. Usually I put them in between interviews or in between segments. I don't know if you guys actually hear them. Though I've had thousands of people listen to this podcast since I brought it back and put it on Spotify, I've seen not a penny. So what's interesting is, what's a podcaster's yearly salary? Okay, a podcaster's yearly salary can be significant, can vary significantly. Beginning podcasters might make a few hundred to a few $1,000s annually. That is garbage. That is 100% not true. I can tell you right now, Gary Ryan has made no money. I can tell you right now, 10-minute misconduct more than likely has made absolutely 0 cents. Nobody doing this in our realm Even people who probably have wrestling podcasts like I used to have, unless they are in the top 10%, there's none of them are making money. Okay. Annually, while top podcasters can make millions, okay, the average annual income for a full-time podcaster in the U.S. is approximately $70,000. I don't buy that at all, though this number can be much higher for successful shows with large audiences and multiple revenue streams. That's probably true as well. But I don't think that I could sit there and take this full-time like Dale Earnhardt Jr. has done with the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Download, which I absolutely love, and I think it's a phenomenal podcast. I don't think I could take this full time without hiring an advertising consultant and all these people that I don't have money to pay for. It's almost an impossible thing to do, right? Podcasters on Spotify primarily make money through ads and sponsorship rather than being paid per stream. Spotify offers tools to help podcasters, including ad programs, which doesn't work unless you're getting 10,000 listens a month, paid subscriptions, which I have set up. Nobody's done it, which I don't expect you to, and or merchandise, which is probably the only revenue stream that I could tap into. Point being, most people don't make a dime unless they sell merchandise or have people pay subscriptions. I think the only revenue the Power Play Post Show could ever generate would be selling ads to local companies and or selling merchandise. So I just want people to understand this. People who do podcasts aren't making money. There's no money here. I have a full-time job. I work 40 hours a week, and I do this because I love it. Okay? This is not a job for me. This is absolutely 100% my way of talking about Binghamton hockey, giving it a positive, a great way for people to learn about hockey, to learn about Binghamton hockey, to learn about these players. That's why I do it. And it's one of those things where I when I hear about Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce making $100 million, right, from Wondery, and knowing that Joe Rogan makes $250 million, if you took half of that money that you just paid Joe Rogan, $125 million, and found a way to give it back to the podcasters that really, if you're listening to an ad on a podcast that maybe Gary Ryan has done, he makes zero money on that. But does Spotify make that money? They do. My point is 10% making all this money because they're famous. And obviously Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, they should get paid. Absolutely 100% should get paid. But there is a benefit to being on Spotify. Easy to use, easy to distribute, and whatnot. But 100%, I don't want anyone to ever think I make a dime doing this. I don't. And if I do sell merchandise at some point, which I know a few people have been excited about, that's going to be it. And there's work that needs to be put into that. Figure out how to come up with the right merchandise store, the right vendor to go through. How do you divvy up how that all breaks down? There's a lot of work to do on that. So just wanted to, bring it up. It was a topic that came up obviously this morning as they signed that deal for them. And obviously they're huge. They're famous. Millions of people listen to their podcast or watch their podcast on YouTube. Without a doubt, they're getting paid for their ability to get on, have a good time, and it's a good podcast, without a doubt. Travis Ridgen, probably the closest thing to us. He gets thousands of downloads, and whether it be YouTube, he also does ads. He works with sponsorships and stuff like that. He gets paid for it. He's one of those guys that is not as big as Jason and Travis Kelce, but he has done the legwork. That's the money. That's how he's supported himself while he's tried to be a hockey player. And it's obviously worked for him in many ways. But again, he's had also a lot of time to be able to do that. All right. Before we get into the player signings and the new coaches, let's talk a little bit about single game tickets are now available for the Black Bears. Gary Ryan posted this all throughout social media, saying that he saw that the the single game tickets are now available. We posted it as well on the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. So I did read a concerning thing, about Ticketmaster fees, and I 100% agree. It sucks. If you want tickets and you want to avoid fees as much as possible, call the office. Get your tickets through them. Do whatever you can to try to save up and get, even if it's just a half a season pack, that's 14 games. It's going to be cheaper in the long run, and then you won't have to pay the service fees to Ticketmaster. They're outrageous. There's a reason why our government is basically in the, investigating what's going on with Live Nation and Ticketmaster. They are ripping off people. Boy, I feel like I'm just complaining about everything tonight. But either way, single game tickets are available for the Binghamton Black Bears now. Go get them. Sell out that first home game. Let's force the Black Bears to put another 5,000 people in the stands if they can for the opening night, which will be very cool. Opening home game, which will be very cool. Okay, so one more thing, and then we'll take a short break before we come back and go through the rest of what I have planned for tonight. The Black Bears hired 2 part-time assistant coaches, okay? Now, I say it that way because essentially they're not going to be there full-time with Brant Sherwood, but they are going to help alleviate some of the duties that Brant Sherwood has had to work on. And the first one, I think, is probably the most important one. Okay, so the Black Bears have hired Mason Esworthy. Hopefully I said that right. He's going to be an intern assistant coach. Not really sure what intern assistant coach means. However, he is also going to be the head of film operations. And what does that mean? He's going to be breaking down film. He's going to take the games, break down the film, and produce the content that Brant needs, so when he has video sessions with the players, he can break down certain things, like how did the power play do? How did the penalty kill do? How did we do in our own zone? How did we do in the neutral zone? Those type of things can be broken down in film and shown to players to help educate them and teach them and show them what they've done good and what they've probably need to get a little work with. So Mason is going to be doing that portion of that. I can tell you right now, Brant's good at breaking down film. Brant is good at that. But Brant has a lot of other things as well that he needs to work on. And so having Mason Esworthy do that, the film, break down the film, and be a part of that, that's going to help Brant a lot. Now, last year we all remember that we had Brian Billett that was, I guess, a goaltending coach, right, for the Binghamton Black Bears. He mostly took video and did video Zoom sessions with the goaltenders, the netminders. Now, I don't know how many he actually had with them. I know he was not in Binghamton at all for this. Jared Levine was hired as a goaltending coach. Now, Jared Levine is a Binghamton native. He has played a little bit of collegiate hockey, and obviously it was a goaltender. He'll be working with the players, from what I've been told, on Wednesdays, the goaltending, running the goaltending, the goalie sessions. Okay, so that is going to obviously take a little bit of something off of the plate of Brant Sherwood. He'll be able to allow Jared to probably review video of the games. I'm not sure how many games and how often Jared will be at the arena. Hopefully I'll get to talk to Jared and Mason both, possibly at training camp, and talk to Brant Sherwood very shortly about this situation with these two coaches. But either way, this is something that's going to help Brant more so than anything. Okay, so very good thing for them. All right, so let's get to the next part, which is they signed 4 more players since the last time we talked. Now, the Black Bears signed Sam Levici. So he's back in the crew. So we got the 3 original goaltenders from last season back together again. Sam is a 22-year-old goalie from Rochester, New York. In his rookie season, Levici appeared in 15 games and recorded an 8-4-1 record. During his time with the Black Bears, Levici won his first 6 starts and finished his tenure with a .89 save percentage and a .355 goals against average. He is awesome. I'm going to have him back on the show in a couple weeks. You'll be able to get to hear from him. I know he's very excited to be back with the Black Bears. Sam, if you're listening, welcome back. It's that simple. All right, Nick Poirier. Poirier hails from Cowansville, Quebec, where he played his youth hockey until 2018 and 19. He started playing in the United States in the U.S. PHL Premier with the Twin City Thunder. In 2 seasons there, Poirier served as an assistant captain, playing in 80 games. After league affiliation changed to the NCDC, Poirier went on to play 4 seasons at Plymouth State University, which is a NCAA Division III level. So good to have him on. And then Chris Mott. Chris Mott is a 25-year-old native of Nesconnet, New York, who has been a part of the hockey program at Morrisville State College for 4 years. Gee, where does that sound familiar? Cameron Clark. He will rejoin his former Mustangs teammate Cam Clark this season with the Black Bears. In each of the 3 seasons with the Mustangs, Mott appeared in 24 games, registering 18 goals and 18 assists. Now, you could say that Cam's numbers at Morrisville State were kind of modest as well. Yet, I think we can all agree that Cam was a spitfire on that third line when he played on that third line. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of player that Chris Mott is. Okay, the last player that they've signed up until the point of today, which is Wednesday when I'm recording this for you guys, is Alexander Jarosik. Hopefully I've come close on that. We'll find out. Jarosik played 2 seasons in the KIJHL with the Golden Rockets, totaling 62 games and recording 10 points in the process during the 22-23 season. Jarosik recorded 173 penalty minutes, averaging 5.2 penalty minutes per game. Last season, Alexander attended Portage College in Lac La Biche, First Nations, Alberta, playing in 9 games. Now, when I broke down how many fighting majors he only had 2. There were a lot of 10-minute misconducts. So this guy definitely has an edge to him, and that's pretty interesting. Okay, so that's the guys that have been signed, have come in. I know the Black Bears have also shown a little glimpse of the championship ring, which I hear there will be replicas made for the fans that the fans can also purchase. Which is pretty cool. And I'm trying to think. There was that game day sales. Game day tickets are on sale, which is pretty cool. So a lot of good stuff going on. Now, there's a couple more topics I want to talk about before we get to our interview with Josh Fletcher. We're going to take a break here, and then when we come back, I will go over neck guards and my opinions on that, and we're going to talk about the fighting majors from the past 3 seasons, which I am planning a Facebook post so you can see the numbers as much as hear me talk about it, because I was surprised on the numbers. I really thought they were going to be different than what they turned out to be. So we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton Hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And all right, welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I am your host, Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening. So I have a couple more things I want to talk about before we get to our interview with Josh Fletcher, which I know you guys are going to really enjoy. The neck guard situation. Obviously, we've had some players get injured recently in hockey over the last few years, from skates getting up near the neck, and we had really a tragedy overseas with someone actually being killed. Well, the hockey world is starting to respond to that, which I think is great. Now, as you all know, I've talked about it many times. I covered the American Hockey League for 11 years from 2004 to 2015. And the American Hockey League has always been a testing ground for the National Hockey League and said, hey, we'll do it here first. We'll see how it looks and how it operates and how it works. No blue line, changes in the trapezoids, adding the trapezoids, shootouts. Those type of things were tested in the American Hockey League. Well, the American Hockey League announced recently that President and CEO Scott Howson announced that the AHL's Board of Governors has unanimously approved the mandatory use of cut-resistant neck protection by all of its players and on-ice officials beginning with the upcoming 2024-25 season. All AHL skaters, referees, linespersons, regardless of age or experience, will be required to wear approved cut-resistant neck protection beginning this fall. Cut-resistant socks and wrist sleeves were previously mandated for AHL players and officials beginning with the 23-24 season. Now, the verbiage here is great. I love the verbiage here because it said, regardless of age and experience. And the reason why you have to throw that in there is that everybody remembers when they started adding helmets in the 80s, mid-80s, there were some referees and linesmen that were allowed to not do it for a while. They were grandfathered in. And the AHL is saying, nobody. Everybody in this case is going to wear the neck resistant. I love this idea. I think this is great. Now, not only that, but the Motor City Rockers as well is also providing this neckwear for their employees, which I think is great. So August 9th, 2024, Fraser, Michigan. The Motor City Rockers announced today that they will provide and highly recommend the wearing and use of neck guards as part of equipment provided to their players. Working with the FPHL office and league officials, equipment supplier Warrior, the team will provide the Warrior Pro Neck Guard for the 2024-25 season. Several organizations like the Pittsburgh Penguins have required all their AHL and ECHL players to wear them. Statement from team president Scott Brand. The FPHL goal is to provide family affordable entertainment, development participants, and above all protect and provide a safe environment for all our players. I believe that the neck guards will be mandatory within 2 years anyways, so while I don't think we are doing anything revolutionary, we happen to just be the league leader at this point. Most of our young players have had experience wearing them, plus the FPHL player you see coming in the league over the next 2 seasons will have grown up using neck guards. This is currently a team directive, not an FPHL rule. The Motor City Rockers have begun their 3rd season, so that's normal for their stuff. I love the fact that the Motor City Rockers announced that they are offering this to their players. They're not requiring them, but they're recommending the wearing and the use of the neck guards, and they'll highly recommend that they do it. So they're not obviously forcing every single player to wear the neck guard. Now, let's talk about these neck guards a little bit. So I actually found some for sale on the icewarehouse.com website. I really like that website. It's got a lot of great hockey gear there. And no, it's not an advertisement. It's just one that I've gone to in the past. So that's at icewarehouse.com. So hockey neck guards. Let's give you the information that they talk about here. The neck is one of the most vital parts of the human body, and even with proper shoulder pads and helmet, this area is still left exposed. And if you look at any hockey picture, hockey player, you'll see this. Hockey neck guards provides recommended cut protection in a few different styles. Neck guards with bibs offer extended coverage, while other high-performance neck guards, such as the Aegis, provide more padding for impact protection. Performance hockey shirts and built-in neck guards have the most natural and comfortable feel. Okay, so there is, at the icewarehouse.com website, there is probably like 5 or 6 companies that are selling this. CCM and Sherwood, Warrior. There's all these different companies that are on there that are, basically making these, and there's all different kinds of styles. So that's pretty interesting. And starting on August 1st, 2024, so that happened about 28 days ago, USA Hockey mandated all players under 18 years old to wear neck laceration protection during games and practices. So as the Motor City Rockers Club suggested, that they're going to be used to wearing them as they come up into the FPHL or the SPHL or the ECHL. They're going to be used to it because people in USA Hockey are already mandated to wear these neck guards. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a very positive thing. I wanted to bring it up. I want people to know that. I don't know if the Black Bears are going to be offering it as a part of the equipment. I don't know if any of the players with the Black Bears would actually wear it. I don't know if any of the players that have played youth hockey in the past 6 or 7 years have even worn it. I would imagine probably not, but they're all going to be. So maybe in a few years, you'll see guys coming in going, oh, yeah, I've been wearing it for the last couple of years and whatnot. So I think this is a good thing. I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to talk about it. And the safety of the players is so important, right? And just the fact that these leagues in the AHL, the ECHL, the FPHL, USA Hockey are all saying we really need to go to this. Is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. All right, so let's talk about the fighting majors for the Binghamton Black Bears. Okay, so when you think of the fighting majors for the Black Bears, you think just for instance, Matthew Billard is obviously going to have the most fighting majors, and he does have the most fighting majors. But let's talk about what I was kind of curious about. I was curious about, well, did it go down because we won the championship? Did we fight less because we were in championship mode, right? Maybe about halfway through the season, we were talking about the doldrums of the season, because it's like the dog days of the season. In February, you're like, oh my God, can we just get to the playoffs? The second season when it comes to hockey. And, it felt like to me there were less fighting majors, right? Well, I actually ran the numbers. Okay, Matthew Billard will not be back in 2020, the 24-25 season at this point. And his last 2 seasons with the Black Bears, he had 20 fighting majors. So he tops everybody with fighting majors for the Black Bears. He has 20 of them. So that leaves who will bring the toughness going into the 24-25 season. Well, let's take a look back here at the 23-24 season. And here's the list of the players with more than one fight in the season, okay? So Josh Fletcher, who's going to be our guest here in just a few minutes, he has the most at 7. Andrew Logar had 6 fighting majors. Matthew Billard and, of course, Justin Samaro, they had 5 fighting majors themselves. Dan Weber had 3. Tyson Kirkby went down last season, the season before, the second season, he had I think 6 fighting majors. He becomes the captain. He fights a little bit less. He's got to keep his cool a little bit more. I'm not saying he kept his cool all the time, right? Because he is Tyson Kirkby. He's trying to get in ahead of other people. But he only had 3 fighting majors, okay? Mac Lewis had 2. Nikita Ivashkin had 2. Jesse Anderson had 2. Jesse Anderson had also one where he got kicked out for a fight strap not being snapped down, but it was. And we've got pictures. We got the proof here at the Power Play Post Show that he did, and that was a screw up by the referees. And then J.T. Walters had 2. Okay, and there were a few other people that had a fighting major as well. But that's it right there. So Josh Fletcher going into next season, he's the guy that the team might need to look to for a little bit of that toughness. Or, we're looking at that new guy, Alexander Jarowsik. I will pronounce the name right eventually, I hope. That might be where your toughness comes from, right? And can Jarowsik come in and just do fighting majors and not get a bunch of 10-minute misconducts? Because that's the thing. When you look at the fighting majors and the percentage of penalty minutes based on the fighting majors, right? So 5 minutes per fight to that's what we're going to look at here. So here's the notes from my research. I basically went through every single game and wrote down typed into an Excel spreadsheet, every single fighting major, right? And I was surprised. I thought it went down. It felt like we fought less this past year. And statistically, it's really not the case. So here's the numbers. So in season 1, we had 47 fighting majors, which is 235 penalty minutes. 22% of the 1,057 penalty minutes in 59 games. Okay, so in 59 games, we had 47 fighting majors. We had 1,057 penalty minutes, and only 22% of those were from fighting majors, 47. Now, in season 2, it went up to 50. So that's 250 penalty minutes just from fighting majors. That ended up only being 18% of the total penalty minutes, which is 1,422 through 56 games. Okay, so yeah, there's a little bit of a change. It kind of grew a little bit, but we also had a lot more 10-minute misconducts and game misconducts and things of that nature, right? And so the penalty minutes grew, even though the fighting majors only went up by 15 penalty minutes, right? 3 fighting majors. It only went up a little bit. Now, season 3, last year, we win the championship. I'm thinking this must have gone down. It felt like it went down, right? It didn't. At least not significantly that we could talk about. In season 3, they had 45 fighting majors, so 225 penalty minutes. Now, that means they fought 5 less times. So they had 5 less fighting majors. 15% of 1,502 penalty minutes. Now, if there's one thing that I hope that the Black Bears can do better this upcoming season than last season, it's the 10-minute misconducts and the game misconducts and things of that nature. Because that's where I think the 1,502 penalty minutes just balloons up, right? And, maybe Taylor, who went through the numbers once before with the penalty minutes, can go through game by game. That is a painstaking thing that I wish to never do again. That's why I'm going to keep track of the penalty of the fighting majors going forward and everything. But the 1,502 is bloated because there's a lot of 10-minute misconducts and game misconducts. And that's through 56 games. So Matthew Billard with 20 fighting majors, he's fought the most in those 3 years. Goalie Harley White had the first fight in Binghamton Black Bears history, taking on Lane King of the then Watertown Wolves on 10/29/21, which was the first ever game for the Binghamton Black Bears. Captain Tyson Kirkby has 11 fights, 8 in his first season, 8 in the second season. He didn't have any fights in the first season for the Black Bears, and 3 in the championship season. And then, of course, again, Josh Fletcher had the most fighting majors in 2023-24 with 7. So what does that mean? It means that even though I thought that the fighting majors were going to be drastically less, I thought maybe 30, 35, right? Because if you go from 50 from season 2 down to 35, that's a significant amount. But it was only 5. It was only 25 penalty minutes that went down. Yeah, our penalty minutes went way up, So interesting information there. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that's fascinated with that because I know that they tried to sell this game here in the FPHL as, it's a rough and tumble. It's really not. 45 fighting majors in 56 games doesn't seem a lot, especially when you look at the numbers, they only fought in 30 games last year. So 30 games, they had 45 fights. 26 of the games, they didn't have a fighting major in. So that tells you a lot, right? It's the 3 or 4 fights against Watertown, three fights in one game against Danbury. Things of that nature kind of make this a bigger thing. So, and the funny thing is, they fought in the same amount of games in season 2 as they did in season 3, which was 30 games. And they didn't fight in 26 games. Yet, to me, it felt like it was less. Strange thing. I don't know why that is, but it definitely was a thing, and I wanted to share that information. And I'm going to share more of that on the Facebook group, in the Power Play Post Show Facebook group this upcoming weekend, which is a 3-day weekend for a lot of us, which is kind of nice. I do want to mention that if things go well with recording with Gary Ryan, I'll be on his podcast, his YouTube podcast, on Monday, as we're going to record something on Saturday, which will be pretty cool. He'll be interviewing me, which is kind of odd. I actually have to answer questions. I'm not used to doing that. But it'll still be a lot of fun, and I'm excited about that. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post, we'll get to it right now. He is, of course, our good friend, and we're really excited to get to talk to him again, and I hope you really enjoy this interview. I kind of put him on the spot, and he becomes a little bit of a what's the best way to say it? Someone who gets to promote Calgary, Alberta, Canada a little bit, as I ask him questions about the top 10 TripAdvisor top attractions to do in Calgary. So that should be a lot of fun as well. So I hope you guys really enjoy that. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is Binghamton Black Bears forward, center, third line center, maybe the second line center. Maybe. I asked him about that. Maybe he can become the second-line center for the Binghamton Black Bears. He is Josh Fletcher. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I had this gentleman on in the middle of the second half of the later part of the season, and he's now won a championship with the Binghamton Black Bears, which is obviously very cool, and we're obviously going to talk about that. And he's been picked up in an expansion draft, then traded back to Binghamton, and he's signed. He's ready to go in just 45 days. It'll be the actual opener in Watertown. The home opener's in 46 days, as everybody knows. I'm counting that down on all the social media platforms. But he comes to us. He's up in Calgary right now. He comes to us from there. He is Josh Fletcher. Josh, welcome back to the show. Great to have you. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Josh, let's talk a little bit about, the end of the season. You only scored 2 goals in the playoffs. You had 13 during the regular season. But what a great playoff run for the Binghamton Black Bears, winning 7 in a row. What a great playoffs. Can you write the script any better for those playoffs?
I don't think so. Kind of like what we had in mind going into the back end of the season there. We just kind of started winning games and piecing them together and just kind of told ourselves like we weren't losing anymore. And the playoffs kind of wrote themselves. Everybody was committed. Everybody was already on that mindset, kind of heading towards that championship goal.
Yeah, so. Josh, you mentioned that, but I think there wasn't it Connor McAnanima that actually said to Coach Sherwood or said to some of you guys, "I'm not losing again." Is that a true story that he actually said that at one point, that he said, "I'm not losing another hockey game this year"?
Oh, 100%. I think I heard it like a million times from him. And from the day he said it, we never really did again. Like, we never lost. I think we went 13-0 maybe at the end of the season there.
Yeah.
And, it was like that game we lost. He went up to Sherwood. He said it. And then, of course, living with him and then being right beside him in the room, I heard him say it the whole time. He's like, "I'm hot. I'm never losing again. The boys are all on track. If I can play good, we can all just get through this playoff run and everything." And yeah, so that's like the first thing. When we won, I went straight up to Nacker and I said it. We ain't losing again. That was kind of a funny reminiscent.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because Connor is one of those guys. If you go up to him and you stand next to him, he's quiet. He's a quiet kid and everything. You get to know him a little bit, right? And there's this more, prankster that comes out and almost kind of like a wise guy a little bit and everything. You lived with him. You know what it's like. Connor is one of those guys, quiet in front of people who maybe he doesn't know, but then kind of a wise guy around people he does know, correct?
No, 100%. He likes to have fun and take things a little bit lightly, and obviously he takes the important things very serious. He's a competitive guy, and that's the one part I love about him, and what makes his personality so good for hockey. And then, like you said, like when it comes to pranks and just being loose and funny, he can do that as well, but it's definitely probably a comfort thing. I think that's for most people as well.
Going into the final game against Carolina, you guys had 5-6 days off, probably Sunday through Thursday completely off. Obviously some practice. I know the media was told to stay away a little bit. There was a little bit of a press conference, and then Friday you guys came in. Was there nerves building up between the Saturday game in Carolina to the third game in Binghamton? Did the nerves build up? Was it too much time off between games 2 and 3? How did that feel to you?
Honestly, I think it worked out perfectly for us in that aspect. And there's going to be a little bit of nerves, but I don't think a lot of us were dealing with them at that point because we went through the 2 series before, and then we go down to Carolina, and we got those 2 games down there, and that was not easy to do. That was a battle. A lot of us were feeling that. So having that time, it wasn't too long of a time at all because it gave us that time to kind of recover the bodies. These guys were hurting throughout playoffs, obviously. You're not going to show it as best as you can throughout games, but we were battling injuries, and I found a way to kind of nurse them throughout that week we kind of had off there, and that helped us out a lot. And then when it came to coming back to Binghamton from Carolina, obviously kind of the script was set perfectly for us in that aspect. We got the 2 games there, and all we had to do was win 1 more out of 3 at home. So being able to kind of like have your mindset just on focusing on winning one of those games in the next 3 days when Friday hits was like kind of a better thing for us because in practice and everything, that's where I think the nerves weren't there. Everything was kind of out the window for us where we just kind of had a mindset of do what we just did twice and we can win a championship, win the league. And so the time off was a huge thing, and I think that was honestly better for us than how the other series went because we were just so crammed playing so many games in such little days, and that's where injuries happen and fatigue and all that stuff. So having those extra few days off was huge for the body and honestly the mind as well, just kind of realizing the situation we were in because everything at that like playoff pace is so crazy. Like you're waking up and playing hockey every day, and to realize that you're getting closer and closer without realizing it, and the nerves just naturally come out.
So Josh, I'm kind of curious about this because you guys obviously needed to take it very seriously. You needed to not let the days kind of get at you a little bit. Is there a fine line of being serious and then loosey-goosey a little bit, right? Because you got to have a little fun, right? Because even though you're coming up to possibly the last 3 games of the season, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, obviously you guys finished it off on Friday, but how did Coach kind of keep it balanced between keeping you guys serious but also still having fun? Because it's an important part of this.
I was just going to say the biggest part of that was our coaching, Coach Sherwood, and honestly our leadership as well with Kirk's there and his assistants. They were able to maintain that happy medium of all season. It wasn't just the playoffs. And that's one thing that made the playoffs so much easier for us was we didn't flip a switch ever. We didn't obviously there was ups and downs through the season, but we kept that same mindset and same seriousness to happiness, you know what I mean? Silliness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got to find that happy medium for sure. And Sherwood and Kirk do an amazing job of maintaining that throughout the whole year. And then when times get tough, like playoffs and stressful times, they do a really good job of keeping their heads level and understanding, okay, well, we need to, you know what I mean? We're kind of dragging ass right now, so maybe we got to change it up and be a little bit more loose. And then if that doesn't work, then I got to be a drill sergeant on you. And so you know what I mean. They find a good way to find that happy medium of seriousness and having fun.
The in the last minute of the game in Game 3, obviously Carolina was pressing. It's how this is in any Game 7, final game of a Stanley Cup, Calder Cup, Kelly Cup, doesn't matter what championship level it is. When you get down to the last couple of minutes and you're leading, you're always playing defense. It's just the way hockey works that way. You're almost never on offense. You're almost never peppering the other goaltender when you're up by 2 and it's the final of the game and everything. What's going through your mind there with about a minute and a half left?
Because that's when we got the empty netter go up by 2 and they scored 1 right away and then had the extra man on against us again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, 100%. Like, you got to stay in the mindset, kind of sound like a broken record, I feel bad, but just keeping that, like, level head. And, obviously you're going to be playing a little bit more defense, especially with them with an extra attacker out there and their season on the line. But for me personally, like, I just looked at it as, you know what I mean, you just got to do exactly what you've been doing, keep on playing as hard as you can, and if it was a time to have mistake-free hockey, that's the time to have mistake-free hockey, is the last minute and a half with the championship on the line.
So let's do a little bit of an exit interview as it would look at. If I were in an exit interview with you, say, Kurt Sherwood said, Bob, you take this one with Fletch. And I sat down with you and I said, okay, tell me the thing that you're most proud of in your game this season. What would it be?
And at the end of last season, honestly, it was just being that third-line center last year and maintaining that position. Mm-hmm. I had that really good shutdown skill on other teams' lines, and then also winning faceoffs and playing that more center defensive role for the team. That was probably my more proud of how I ended the season with my own personal play.
Gotcha. So, and if I was also in this exit interview and I said to you, do you think that you did well protecting your teammates? Because I got to be honest with you, Josh, I ran the numbers. I know every single fighting major that happened in the last 3 seasons for the Binghamton Black Bears, and you led the most with 7 fighting majors. I think you beat Matthew Billard by 1 this past season. How do you feel that you did when it came to not just fighting, but just really kind of sticking up for your teammates as well?
Well, it's something I'm always going to do, and it's something I've been doing since I was 15 years old, pretty much. It's an unwritten rule in hockey that, always got to be there for your teammates, and I would do that for anybody on that team at any point. It's just a brotherhood, and that's hockey, and they would do the exact same thing for me. I got lit up in Motor City, and Logue stood up the next period for me, and sometimes it doesn't happen instantly, and you know what I mean? Someone will eventually stand up for you and take care of it. And for me, it's not just unfortunate that I was always in that situation. It's just instantly my eyes go red when something bad happens to one of my teammates or somebody that doesn't need the fight is trying to fight them. So that's just something I'm always looking out. I'm not the biggest fighter ever, but I'm always going to look out for my teammates and stand up for myself and them.
I think it's one of the things that, your teammates are going to look at and go, Josh has always got our back, period. He always does, just like, Boise did. For 3 years, Matthew Billard was the guy that if you went out and checked somebody really hard and kind of maybe high, maybe a little dirty, that more than likely Billard is coming out at some point over the next couple line changes, and he's going to be looking for you. And, I think that's one of the things that is kind of great, that even with Boise going down to Blue Ridge in the trade to get you back and everything, that you have that mindset where you're not looking for a fight, but you'll do it if you need to.
Yeah, 100%. And Boise taught me so much about fighting as well. He was a huge mentor for me this year. He made that whole, because I had him at the start of the year and the end of the year, and that was right when I needed him, because going into pro and getting into those fights, you know what I mean? He gave me a lot of advice on what guys were going to do, because one thing fighters got to do, you got to study how people fight, and he'd give me tips on how guys, how they fought, and taught me what to do with my type of style of fighting, and then also just him kind of leading me into that, and then me getting in a whole bunch of fights during the season when he was up in the SB, and then him coming back, and I was just kind of reminiscing and talking about it, and then also me understanding that I don't got to fight as much. I got Matthew back, so no, he'll be missed, but he helped me out a lot with that whole process of kind of entering that realm of the game.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's go back to the championship. So the whistle blows, you guys win. You guys pile up on CMAC at the end by the net and everything. What was that feeling like? Just talk a little bit about that night and how, the celebration. I saw all of you guys out there for a very long time.
Yeah, it's hard to put something like that in words. It leaves you speechless in an aspect. The buzzer rang, and haven't had that feeling since I was 17 years old. That was the only other time I won somewhat of a serious championship, but this is definitely my most serious. So mine kind of just go blank, and I jumped over the boards, and it's hard to put in words in that example because it's something you go for. So many guys on that team, and we did so. The year's not short; it's long, and it takes a tax on the body and the mind, and just going to war with all those guys and getting the best reward you can from doing what you're doing it for is just undescribable in an experience. But it was a lot of fun. I feel like we did it right in that aspect. We hopped over the boards. We stayed out there. I don't know what was this curse throwing the net, but that's what I mean. You just don't know what you're doing. It's an insane feeling. It's something you've been chasing for who knows how many years. Each guy has been trying to get that championship, that victory in professional hockey. So getting to do that and with those guys it's speechless. It leaves you like that, and it was a great time.
I think this is the most games you played in one hockey season. You played 60 games between 53 regular season games and then, of course, the 7 games in the playoffs. How does your body feel after that? I mean, I'm sure the night of the championship you don't feel a thing because obviously you guys are all having a great time. But a few days later, how does the body feel?
Well, it's hard. This year actually was pretty good on me. I didn't have any too bad of injuries throughout the year. Knock on wood. But yeah, honestly, this has been the best year for me coming out of hockey. I actually only took 2 weeks off of hockey. Week in Binghamton there, where I didn't go on the ice, and then I spent the week at my girlfriend's in Connecticut. Wasn't on the ice there, but as soon as I got home, I was on 2 different men's league teams already. So I was on the ice 3 to 4 times a week until about a week ago. Now I'm only on 1 to 2 times a week, but now it's because my lifts are starting. So just kind of taking that little break was nice, and getting that you kind of do realize, okay, the knees are a bit sore because you're not 18 anymore. I'm 26, so it's you can feel it in the knees, the hips. But it's a casual hockey player soreness. But other guys on our team that went through some pretty tough injuries, and they were definitely feeling it directly after the game. And but that's what it costs to win a championship, and that's where you have those few months and to just nurse them and get back to 100%, and then work on your craft. Okay,
so the protective list comes out. You're not on it. I'm sure you were disappointed, but maybe understood or maybe didn't understand. That's fine. But then the trade happens to bring you back to Binghamton, so Binghamton owns your rights again. I have to imagine you go maybe being upset about not being there and being picked up, but maybe you're also like, hey, being picked up in the expansion draft means that somebody liked what I did and they want me and everything. But then obviously, probably Scherzi or Andreas, somebody calls you and says, hey, listen, we got you in a trade, you're coming back and everything. Your thought process around that whole thing, because obviously sometimes, I've talked to a lot of people who played in Binghamton and said, why would I want to play with anybody else, right? And this is single-A hockey, and if I want to play there, I should be able to play there. And, of course, it's the real world, and we can't really choose those things exactly the way we want to. But your thought process through the expansion draft and then being traded back.
It's definitely something like you said, you want to be protected, obviously, but I kind of understood why I wasn't and everything. And in my exit meeting, I knew going in out of that I wasn't going to be protected, and basically Sherrod was just if anything does happen, we're going to try our best to get you back. So I knew that when I did get drafted, and then getting picked up back and then seeing the trade go through, Sherrod called me and he said, I told you I wouldn't be letting you go anywhere else. And my mind behind that as well is, like you said, it's single-A hockey. You can't pick exactly where you want to play or anything like that. But
sure.
a lot of the guys that are playing in this level have sacrificed a lot of other things, such as jobs and location-wise. Like New York's a pretty far place, but going down south's even farther for me. So there's just there's a lot of things you got to equate into it, and it's nice to be honored in that aspect and get drafted in the expansion draft. But like you said, guys you've talked to before, there's just nowhere else I want to play, especially after the year we had last year. And seeing how many of our guys are coming back to the Black Bears just made it, you know what I mean? So I was sitting there, I was just waiting for it to happen, hopefully. And like you said, Sherrod wanted to get me back, and he got me back. And it's unfortunate we had to give up Metchu for me, but you know what I mean? I'm going to come back and do everything I did last year, but try my best to do more as well, because I've been trying to get better at my craft as everybody else is this summer. So for sure, grateful to be back in Binghamton. There's nowhere else in the Fed that I really want to play. So really lucky to be able to get the chance to come back and be traded back to Binghamton. And I do appreciate that. Like I said, it's kind of nice getting drafted high up too. But there's just something that I just didn't see working for me, and I didn't really have to deal with it at all, other than fans being upset and me being upset as well. But it all worked out at the end, and I had a feeling leaving the exit meeting that something would happen and it would work itself out. So it's a unique situation. Of course, the expansion draft and the way they're doing it in the Fed is they're trying to grow the league, which is obviously an important thing. Single-A hockey really needs to have a good footing. The SP only has 10 teams, and a couple teams are not doing all that great, and the Fed seems to have a different model that seems to work for them. Let me ask you this. That comes to the mind of, how do you choose between hockey, where you're not getting paid a lot of money, and a good job? That's got to be one of the toughest things for someone. Or is it a little bit easier than I thought? Because you and I had a little bit of a conversation before we started talking, and it really made me think that, because the comment you made, and I just would love it if you explained it to the fans and everything, was essentially you can work after hockey, essentially. Talk about the decision to come back, because you have a good job right now. Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said before, there's a lot of things guys sacrifice, and a good paying job was one of the things that I'm sacrificing to come back to play hockey. And it's kind of even going into my first year of pro. I graduated school. I went from Canada and went to school in the States, and I was playing D3, so I still have a good amount of student debt to pay off. But you just gotta. That's where, you know what I mean. I talked to a lot of people, and the common denominator on that was work. You can work until you're 60 or however old you live till. It's not really going to go anywhere, because you have your skill sets for making money that way. And then hockey, once you quit, unless you're Kyle Stefan or anybody else that kind of can just, or Dan Stone even, they can take a few years off of playing high competitive hockey and then just jump back into it. It's very unlikely,
right?
Especially being around this age. So that's kind of the quote I stick to, is work's never going to go anywhere, but hockey will once you stop beating it.
And Josh, you make a valid point there. The Dan Stones and the Kyle Stefans just don't happen, right? I mean, that's a very rare thing where they step away. And, they were probably playing in some men's leagues, and they were still getting on the ice. But the fact of the matter is, to be able to come back and to lace it back up and then play. It took Kyle Stefan a few games, but then all of a sudden you saw, okay, that's the D1 player that we expected to see here, right? And with Dan Stone, he played at a high level and then came back, So it's definitely one of those things where that doesn't happen for everybody. So you have to make the decision for yourself. Do I step away because I have a great job and everything, right? Or do I come back and play hockey at least as long as I can?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's the road I was put between. But I'm still young, and I'm still feeling that I'm getting better at hockey, and it's something I want to do. And being part of Binghamton is something special. And I want to take advantage of that opportunity and come back and try my best to help the guys win another one.
So the city of Calgary has a champion living amongst them and whatnot. Will the Flames ever win again?
I don't know. Like they're definitely going to be in a spot where they're rebuilding for a little bit. We've got some young talent that we have in our AHL team, but it's definitely going to be a journey to get back to where we were kind of close to. We were winning the division. I don't know, what was it, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
We were putting divisions together and we were winning first round of playoffs, but can't really get past that. So, and then losing everybody's not that easy. So, rebuilding the team kind of around what we have right now will be a timely process again. But I was saying the same thing 10 years ago about Edmonton. Like, will they ever get back to that Stanley Cup final? And it only took them, it was 06, I think. They were against Carolina, and they were back this year. So,
yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about Calgary, because I don't know much about Calgary. I do know that it's it's kind of like Texas, but up in the north, because, there's a lot of ranchers, there's rodeos that come through and stuff like that. I'm not that far off, right? Is that a misconception about Calgary? Is there a bunch is it a lot of farms and ranches and the rodeo does flow through there? I do know that that's one of the biggest attractions is the Stampede Rodeo, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that is. It's the world's largest outdoor show, and LA was lucky enough to come out to that this year with me and Stone.
That's
so
cool.
Show them the ropes of that. So that was a lot of fun. And Calgary. That's what, we call it Cowtown, whatever you want to. That's exactly why it's called that. There's a lot of ranchers. There's a lot of oil and gas. And like you said, a lot of rodeos. Calgary's kind of the center hub where we have the largest one, but there's so many areas around that also have them. So we have Chestermere just down the road from 40 minutes outside of Calgary, pretty much, that have theirs. Millerville's another one that just had theirs last weekend, southeast. So there's a whole bunch of little small towns around as well that have, it would be not as big as the Calgary Stampede, but they're bigger rodeos than probably rodeo sizes you'd see in Texas around that.
Right. So talk a little bit about that. You did send me the picture of LA in the cowboy outfit. I have not released this picture. I'm not going to do so without LA's permission. First of all, he'll be listening to this. He can tell me if I can release the picture or not. But it's pretty cool. But talk about LA coming out and visiting you.
No, it was awesome to see him. He actually, because like you said, he was when you guys talked, he was down seeing family, and he kind of set a few days to hang out with me and Stone.
Yeah.
Which was perfect. He was texting me right when he knew he was going to come down, so we had it pre-planned and got out for a round of golf to kind of catch up and reminisce about the season and what we've been doing in the summers, and then get to show him the Calgary Stampede. Me and Stone are it doesn't really wear off on you, but we've seen it so many times and we've been a part of it because born and raised in Calgary, more likely you go to the Calgary Stampede because what everybody kind of does during that week. It's kind of funny when the rodeo happens a week before, everybody's getting ready and there's a whole bunch of hype. Mm-hmm. The week during, everyone's partying and missing work, and then the week after, everyone's dead. So it's a 3-week shutdown of Alberta because everyone from Edmonton, everyone from everywhere comes in and enjoys the rodeo. So
that's pretty cool.
It's kind of cool to get them suited up and get the because you know what I mean. Sometimes if you were just showing up, you'd just show up normally, but got them all dressed up and got to show them the chuck wagons and the rodeo. So I think he really enjoyed it. It was cool to kind of culture him that way.
And you had him in cowboy boots, right?
Yeah. Well, they were blue suede cowboy shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know there's no video pictures of his footwear, but you promised me that he was wearing some. Okay, so let me give you.
They were Western.
They were Western. That's all that matters and everything. Because and fans, if you're wondering why this is a big deal, is L.A., if you don't remember, is from Toronto. He's from the big city, right? He's from the big, city. They don't do these type of things in Toronto. So it's a great story. I love it. But I'm on TripAdvisor.com, okay? And TripAdvisor.com has the top 10 top attractions in Calgary. I'm going to go through them with you, and you tell me if these are definitely the top 10. And, of course, the Calgary Stampede is in this. I'm just surprised it's not number one because it's the one thing that I knew about out there in Calgary. Okay, so the number one thing on here is the Heritage Park Historical Village. Do you know about this place?
Yeah, went on a lot of school field trips there, yeah.
So, okay, so
younger.
It got the most votes. It's got like 3,211 positive reviews and everything. So, pretty cool place. Definitely a place you want to visit.
It's like old homesteading, kind of. It's like, so it's where you get in the winter, you can go, like, I remember doing maple syrup, like, you know how they do the maple syrup on a stick on the snow, like how it turns hard.
Yeah.
So you do that there. You can turn butter. It's like old homestead kind of living.
Nice.
And like the most like original first houses that were ever in Alberta kind of thing.
Very cool. All right, number 2 is the Calgary Stampede. Now, we've talked about it a little bit, but tell the fans why the Calgary Stampede is so special.
Because it's like it's the all-star of rodeo, pretty much. It's a 10-day long rodeo, which you don't see anywhere else in the world, pretty much. And it has a big cash amount prizes for 10 days of riding. So consistency throughout 10 days for all these cowboys and cowgirls is pretty tough. So that's what makes it so competitive for everyone that is riding bulls and doing the chucks and the tie down and all that. It's like kind of the NHL playoffs, like Stanley Cup Finals, like
nice
for that type of stuff. So being like the host of that for I forget how many years, it'd be 100 and some.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's crazy. That's awesome. Now, one last question about the Calgary Stampede. You may not know, but you may know this answer. You mentioned people come in from other parts of the parts of Canada to the Calgary Stampede. Do rodeo riders from the States come up and compete in the Calgary Stampede as well?
Yeah, we see a decent amount of guys from Texas. I don't know all the other states. I would guess
probably Montana, Oklahoma, places like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our one right below Alberta. So that's the only other really place in the West I've been in the States is Montana. So.
Oh, you have? Oh,
yeah,
it's
we do
beautiful. Beautiful.
We do have a mix.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so number 3 on the list is the Calgary Zoo. Have you ever been to the Calgary Zoo?
Yeah, I love the Calgary Zoo. I love a good zoo trip.
Yeah, me too. I honestly do. All right, now, number 4 is one that I'll never go to. I'll never go to the top of, but the Calgary Tower.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a rotating restaurant on top as well.
Kind of like in Seattle and Toronto, they have those Space Needle type things, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what it is. Just kind of a monument for Calgary, and it's kind of crazy because when I was younger, it was like the tallest building and nothing around it, and then you still can't really build any tall buildings around it, but you look just to the left and there's all these massive buildings that are way taller. And it takes away a little bit from it, but it's still iconic.
That's funny because one of the pictures I see is there's a bunch of skyscrapers being built, but kind of around it, but not, but it makes it look smaller than it probably was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
All right, number 5 on the list is Prince Islands Park.
Yep, no, it's a nice little. It's like that would be like our Central Park of Calgary.
Oh, okay, all right, very cool, very cool.
In the middle of it, and has like nice. There's theaters and stuff that you can just go to for free. It's a nice vibe.
Cool. Now, one of the ones that I would definitely go to is apparently there's a lot of military museums in Calgary.
Yeah, there is a good amount of them. I live probably around like 10 minutes from one as well. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Quite a few of those.
Yeah. Number 7 on the list is Gasoline Alley Museum. Now, I've actually seen a documentary about Gasoline Alley Museum, and that to me is very cool. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's all about like the history of the automobile and all the different. There's tons of signage and old vehicles in it. It's a very cool place.
Yeah, I've been there when I was younger. That also ties into our oil and gas heritage kind of with Calgary. That's really cool as well, seeing all the vintage cars and pumps and getting the tour through there.
There's a museum, if you ever get the chance, there's an automobile museum down in Hershey, Pennsylvania, obviously where the Hershey Bears play. Josh, really cool museum down in Hershey. I went to the outdoor game in Hershey I don't know, like 5-6 years ago with my brother. And one of the things that my wife made us do was made us go to that museum. And I'll be honest with you, our jaws were just dropped of all the cool stuff in that place. And you drive up to it, and it looks small, and then it's huge when you get in there. It's a pretty cool place and everything.
Well, definitely have to keep that in mind.
Number 8 on the list is the Bow River.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's like one of the biggest rivers that runs through like pretty much all Western Canada. And yes, we have 2 rivers. We have the Bow River and then the Elbow River. The Bow River is a little bit. The Bow River is a lot crazier, and that's one of the biggest rivers in Canada. And then the Elbow is a little bit more tame, and that's the one you can kind of just float down on the raft. And if you want to do a little mini whitewater, you'd go down the Bow. I
got to be honest with you. The picture that they show of the Bow River, the mountains in the backgrounds are, I mean, if I could say the F word, I would say the F word, beautiful. That's how gorgeous it is. So,
yeah, that's kind of what I thought was going to be number 1 on our list. And
really? The Bow River?
Park, Banff.
Oh.
Because it's not technically Calgary, but Calgary's the closest city to Banff. Well, Canmore is, but not city-wise. So Calgary's like, we're only a 60-minute drive to those, like, I don't know, from my house, I'm only 40 minutes in those mountains.
Gotcha.
And then the extra 20 to get into Banff.
Cool. Very cool. All right, 2 more left that we have. They have like 40 here, but I just wanted to go through the top 10. Stephen Avenue Walk. I'm not sure why that's on the list. What can you tell us about the Stephen Avenue Walk?
It'd be kind of like not a strip mall, but so it's right down in the heart of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of bars and then shops, pretty much. So it's like an outdoor mall kind of with a whole bunch of restaurants and nightlife.
Yeah, it says historic architecture and modern shops, ideal for family outings, dining, and cultural events. So that's pretty much what you said, essentially.
Yeah.
All right, number 10 on this list. I do know that Calgary is also famous for 2 other things. Number 1 is pro wrestling. Stampede Wrestling is out of Calgary, where Bret the Hitman Hart, Stu Hart, all of that family is from that part of Canada and everything. But number 10 on the list is Studio Bell, home of the National Music Center. Have you ever heard of it?
That's one I haven't been to. That's the one on the list I haven't been to. That just got recently built, I'm pretty sure, just down near the Saddle Dome, actually. So that's actually one I was planning on looking at eventually, but no, I haven't had the time to go over and check that out.
That's very cool. So, that was the other thing. I did see you with the WWE belt. You had a pair of sunglasses on. You kind of had that little Bret the Hitman Hart vibe going during the championship celebration and everything. First of all, who owns the championship belt, and where is it now?
I'm hoping it's still in the room. So we were handing it out for pretty much just like the toughest guy of the game, kind of. So
Gotcha.
like if you got in a fight or anything, or you know what I mean, blocking shots or anything, kind of putting the body on the line, you'd get the WWE belt.
Very cool.
And so at the end of the year there, when we were about to go out, I went up to Matthew and asked him if it was okay if I wore it, because it's between me and him who was going to be able to get to wear it, and he was nice to, in an aspect, pass me the torch and let me wear it.
Well, to be fair, you had 7 fights. He only had 6. So
that's right. I beat him by 1, and I brought that up to him, and he let me wear it. So I was grateful for that, and then definitely tied into the whole championship theme of everything, getting to wear the belt out, and the speed glasses, something me and Mead wanted to do, because we'd always just make jokes and keep the rim loose with the speed glasses on. So
that's awesome. Josh, there's about probably 30 days maybe before you're going to be back in Binghamton for training camp. What do you want to do in these next 30 days before you head east and get into Binghamton?
Yeah, it's definitely something I've kind of been preparing for over the last few years, for sure, because just getting used to moving your whole life across the country to a different country is can be stressful for some people and everything, but the next month I just basically want to keep on my same routine. That's just working, getting on the ice, and I'll go down a few days early to spend some time with my girlfriend and then move into Binghamton. So definitely just kind of going to relax a little bit. I haven't really got to do much of that this summer, and then move down, but the next few weeks are definitely still on the grind.
You were the third line center. Can we possibly pencil you in for a second-line center. Is that a possibility? Do you think your game can be second-line center?
Yeah, that's what I'm working for this whole summer. Is to try to get that jump up in the lineup and trying to just be the best version of a hockey player that I can be for this team this year. And I feel like I'm kind of ready for that step. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's one thing about our team that makes us so successful is we have tremendous depth. You know what I mean? Theoretically, like Steph would be there if he was coming back, and that'd be something I still want to battle for, is trying to take that second line spot from him. But at the end of the day, it's not that important to me if I'm second or third. It's just doing what I can do for the team to help win games, and that's third line, 10th forward. Doesn't really matter too much to me. But obviously, that's something that's going to fuel me and keep me hungry, is the fact that that second line center spot's open, and something I feel like I can take, and I'm going to try to take.
You know, let's be honest. If Steph was coming back and everything, you could just drop the gloves with him for it.
No, exactly. I tried to do that last year. He wasn't steady. Let me get back to speed, and then we'll see. And I don't know. So it's still in the air. We might have to fight for it if he comes back.
That's funny. That's funny. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. You're one of the fan favorites, 100%. The fans love you here in Binghamton, and I'm glad you're coming back. I'm glad the trade happened. I'm glad everything's all signed up, and all you have to do is come into camp and sign the regular contract and all that stuff. I'm excited to see you again and to talk to you again, take pictures of you again, and cover you guys. It's going to be a fun season. You guys had I have to say, with all the adversity that you guys had during the regular season, with craziness, with coach getting suspended, or all the different things that happened, you guys turned the season into what every player hopes it will be, which is end with a championship and raising the cup, and you did it on home ice even better. So, but what a great season. You guys need to always hold your head up high about that season, because it was amazing, not just for you guys, but for the city of Binghamton as well. And having 5,000 fans in the arena when you guys won that cup, it's never happened before in Binghamton. I mean, the most is $48.99 ever for one game. And I know the sellout record is really technically $48.93, but there was a game, $48.99. Was one of the Devil. I think it was the Devil's first game. You guys shattered that with 5,011 fans. You guys didn't just win for you guys. You also won for the city of Binghamton, and I can tell you right now, all the fans are just so happy you guys did so. It was an amazing experience last year.
No, 100%. That's a huge part of why we wanted to do it, especially at home. And we have the best fan base in the Fed, and honestly, I feel like if we were in the majority of the other leagues, we'd be just there with them. So getting to win in front of everybody that came and supported all year, and the extra energy that they would feed us and everything was just amazing. Binghamton truly is a hockey town, and we have the fan base, and packing that arena just proves it. So yeah, we do win it for ourselves, we win it for each other, but we also, huge thing was winning it for the fans, letting them enjoy that championship. Last one was 2011, I believe, right?
2011, yep, with the Binghamton Senators. Yep. Now, the Binghamton Senators one, which is pretty cool, Josh, is that because you guys were at the top of the division, you were second in the league and everything. The Binghamton Senators were literally dead last in their conference, crossed over to the other division, and then had to win, obviously, win all the playoff games to win a championship. Completely, different routes to get there, but the icing on the cake at the end is just as sweet.
100%, and them getting to share it too with those loyal fans, that's a huge part of why you do it. And everyone has their own story there. Ours was a little bit nicer because if we would have played Columbus, we would have been trying to win it there versus getting to do it in front of everybody. And even the after party of winning it, and just making sure everybody was included with that and had a chance to see the cup and touch it, and take a picture with it. There's a huge part of us winning it as well. So
Without a doubt. Josh, thank you again for coming on. Enjoy your last 30-ish days before you have to get out here to Binghamton, and we'll see you at camp, and can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Awesome.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Before I let you guys go today, I do want to mention there are two great golf tournaments coming up that really is important for Binghamton hockey. The first one that I want to mention, and this is really, really kind of important because I do believe that the girls with the Binghamton Blizzard should get as much financial help as they can, right? Because we're teaching the young girls how to play hockey and everything. They're hosting their second annual Binghamton Blizzards Girls Youth Hockey Club Golf Tournament on September 21st of 2024. Okay, for $400. What you get is a golf. You get to golf and a cart for 18 holes, beverages on the course, beer, wine, and water, food after your round, prizes, skins, longest drives, and 50-50 fun and some surprise games. You can sponsor as well. You can scan the QR code. We'll have this on the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. The cost is $400 per team. You can scan the QR code that you'll see in the image and everything, which is pretty cool. There's a Google form to do. And you can also pay through PayPal or by check. If you have any questions, reach out to the tournament director, which is Terry Kelsey at 607-242-3955. And so if you don't know, the Blizzard is a girls hockey organization based out of Binghamton, New York, offering recreational and competitive hockey for girls ages 3 to 16. Their goal is to teach girls how to become competitive in the sport of hockey and improve their confidence and compete as they grow. Okay? So this is a very important, it's a good thing for, obviously, our area. So please, if you have the ability and you want to, and you can, please go check that out and maybe go play some golf and everything. Now, the other one that is also happening is the golf tournament that the Binghamton Black Bears Booster Club. Now, this has already been on our a group page, the Power Play Post Show group and everything, which is pretty cool. So basically what you got is the first annual Golf with the Players 2024 Binghamton Hockey Booster Club is actually hosting. The proceeds benefit the Booster Club in support of the Binghamton Black Bears. Okay. This is also $400 per team. It's October 4th on Friday, October 4th. The $400 team includes the golf cart, 2 vouchers for any regular season Binghamton Black Bears home games, which is pretty cool. There's snacks, contests, door prizes, dinner, marinated chicken, sides, rolls, some pretty good stuff going on there. Raffles, contests, door prizes, and so much more, which is pretty cool as well. So basically, you can register. We have all the information on the Facebook group for this. They're going to be playing at Ely Park Golf Course, which is on 67 Ridge Street in Binghamton, New York. All the players will be in by then. They'll be in the middle of camp, it's during camp and everything. This will include the golf cart, 2 vouchers in regular season games, as I mentioned. Golfing with a Black Bear will be assigned on a first-come, serve basis. No guarantee that all teams will have a player. And please make checks payable to Binghamton Hockey Booster Club. Mail, and then you can email that. And if you have any questions as well, I believe you can reach out to Lori Ann Platt. She is the one that, I think she's the head of the Binghamton Black Bears Booster Club now. Please consider playing or being a sponsor for this event. Any information that the Flyers Below don't have, that you can contact binghockeybc@gmail.com or reach out to Lori Ann Platt as well on Facebook, and she can help you out with that. So I wanted to bring up those. I'll mention them again next week and maybe a little bit throughout September as well. So if you like to play golf and you want to support hockey here in Binghamton, there are 2 great tournaments that you can certainly do that. And I hope you guys all check that out. Thank you very much for listening. Let me go through my reads one more time. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. We're up over 520 some, and it's growing and going to keep growing, and I really do appreciate that. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And don't forget, single game tickets are available for the Black Bears. Thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and probably one of my biggest supporters from so far away. And I don't know if John ever listens to the show. It's okay. He's done so many great things for me and for the show. And the Binghamton Black Bears forward and center, Josh Fletcher, thank you, the fans, for listening to the Power Play Post Show. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week. I got a great guest for you next week. If you stayed until the end here to listen, Connor Smith will be on the show, and he'll talk about his future right here on the Power Play Post Show. You're going to hear it here about Connor Smith. Thank you very much for listening. I am Bob Howard, and this is the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.